So first, we just want to talk about how do you get to Drive. Of course, if you're already in a Google product, your email or whatnot, you can always go to your waffle in the upper right corner and you can find the link to Drive. Now, mine just so happens to be on the second line in the middle, but keep in mind you can organize the waffle in any way you want. So yours may be at the bottom, it may be at the top. Depending on what you want to access most frequently, you can drop and drag these around. You also can open a new browser and just simply go to drive.google.com, and that will pull you into your Drive. Now, keep in mind, if you have access to more than one Google account, you may have to toggle to the one that you want. So make sure that your headshot in the upper right is for the correct account that you want. And if not, click on it and scroll down and you can get to your other account. We know a lot of people, maybe they have an office account, a personal account, whatnot. So just make sure that if you can't find something and you're going crazy, check that upper right corner and just make sure that you're in the proper drive so that you can find the files that you want. Also, keep in mind that it is a cloud-based storage system. So if you are very much like me and you want to save files on your desktop to either your Windows Explorer or if you're on a Mac in your Finder, you do have to download the Google Download Drive. So if you need more information about that, you just want to go ahead and Google Drive, and it will give you links in order to load that. You'll see in my upper bar, well, actually, you probably can't because I'm sharing a browser, but in my upper bar, I have my file stream. So Google file stream download, and that will allow you to drop and drag files into your Window Explorer or your Finder, and it'll automatically sync into the cloud version of your drive. But if you don't have that, sometime using Google Drive can be a little bit difficult in your day-to-day business if you're downloading files, if you're getting files from your email or whatnot. So the Google file stream will make your lives much, much easier. So if you have any questions about that, just reach out to Paul, Kelly, Jessica, or myself, and we can help get that done for you. But it does make your life a lot easier when you're storing everything in the drive. So Google Drive is cloud-based. So whether I'm on my computer, I log into my Google account on a different computer. I have the app on my cell phone. I'm never worried about losing files that are on my desktop or saved in my download file. These are available to me anytime I'm accessing my Google account. So it's a really great way to keep your documents where you need them, and then you can get to them at any time. You don't have to be sitting in front of a certain piece of equipment in order to get that information. Particularly now that we have our iPads available, you can log into Google Drive on your iPad. So if you are floating around the office or if you're going to a different location, maybe you're visiting a gallery location, you can have that on the iPad and you'll be able to get to any of your documents, whether they're a training document or if it's a spreadsheet, if you're keeping track of something, whatever it might be, you can then get to that on the iPads as well as your computers. So it's a really nice way to have everything you need at your fingertips at any given time. So over to the left here, we do have the ability to do a new file if you would like, and you can have lots of options. If you want a new folder, if you want to upload a file, if you want to upload a folder, or you can have new docs, sheets, slides, whatever it might be. So that is available there. And then, of course, we land on our home screen. You can go to your activity if you want to track the recent activity and what you were working on. And you also have the ability to create a workspace. So I don't use this myself. If you're interested in it, we can do further training after the fact, but it is an option and another way to keep yourself organized that you can create a workspace. So maybe you have a Google slide and you have a Google sheet and you have a Google Doc and you have them all in a file, but you constantly forget where to get to that file. You can create a workspace to keep those all together there. Now, there is a difference here between My Drive and shared drives. So My Drive is just that, it's your drive. It's just for you. Unless you share it to somebody else, it sits in your Google world. If your Google world gets deleted, if you leave the company or whatnot and your account is deleted, all of that information is gone. So as you can tell, that's probably a little bit tricky if you're doing shared documents, whether it's floor schedules or listing logs or whatever it might be. We want to make sure that we're putting them in a shared drive, because then regardless of who the owner is, if it's in that shared drive, then it's going to be accessible even if the owner account is no longer in our Google Workspace account. So anything that's shared, anything that historically needs to be kept in perpetuity, we want to make sure that that goes as a shared drive and not as a My Drive. Also, shared drives can be a lot more secure because our default is to not allow any shared drives to be shared outside of the Schmidt family of companies Google Workspace. There's a workaround that you can allow that, but our default is to not allow it. That just keeps our data in our environment safe and secure and not out there shared to who knows who. So that's the difference between My Drive and shared drives. When you have shared drives, you can do different things. Same with your drive as well, but you can always share just for a viewer. You can share as an editor, or you can share as a commenter. So you can keep your data secure. If you share a document, you don't want anybody messing with the information, you can share it as view only. That won't allow them to do anything. You also have the ability in shared drives to not allow the other members to share that with anybody else. So it has to be the main owner of that shared drive that manages who can be shared to. So a lot of secure features there in shared drives. You'll also see the shared with me option here. Recent, which is nice because you're like, oh gosh, I was just working on that yesterday, but I closed the tab. I need to get back to it. So you want to go to recent here and then starred. So I will star a file if I'm in and out of it a lot, because then when I go to starred, it's just those files. It gets rid of all of your other file hierarchy and it's just the starred ones. So I use this a lot to keep myself organized, where I can quickly get to the file that I need to without having to go to My Drive, go in My Drive, find the file, find the folder. If I know I'm going to be going back to it frequently, you star it and then you can get to it from there. So a good opportunity. And then when you're in your regular drive, if you have it starred, it's going to show that you have it starred here. So that's your menu button there to the left. Now you have some view options here. You can view in the list. If you would like more of a icon view, you can toggle back and forth between that. You'll see up here, you can filter by type, people, date modified, and source. So you can see on source, is it from your Gmail? Is it from a Google Meet? When it was modified, if you were working on it earlier today, last 7 days, so on and so forth. You can search from just certain people. So if you're, gosh, I know Kelly sent me that document, but I can't find it, you can filter from just certain people that shared it with you, or of course, type as well. So if you're looking for a folder, or maybe you're looking for a Google Sheet, you can have the option to filter by just those views. Also, a good way to stay organized is using your search option here. So when you click your filter button there, those 3 lines, you can search from, again, any type, from the owner, keywords that it has here. We can search by the name, of course, and then the location. You can even search your trash if you so choose. You can search by the date modified. A lot of options in order to be able to find. Maybe you're like, gosh, I know I sent Jessica that file, but I can't find it. So I can search by if I shared it to her or not. You also have the opportunity to search right in a certain folder by going to right click, folder information, and search within that folder. So if you're like, I know it's in this folder, I just can't find it. But when you do the search at the top, unless you manipulate your filters, it's going to search all of your documents. So this can really create more finite search parameters to help you find what you need quicker. So that's kind of the difference between My Drive and shared drive. That's some search functionality for you there. And then going back to shared with me, just to talk about this a little bit. So if you're not the owner of the document and it's a quote unquote My Drive document, so it's not going to be in your shared drives. If somebody shares it to you, you'll find it in shared with me. But unless you move that to a folder in your drive, it may not be in there because it may go down the list. It may be hard to find. A lot of people get tripped up in Google Drive because it's shared with them and they never organize it in their world, in their drive, in order to be able to go back and find that. So from a shared document here, for example, Moxie sheet, you can click on that and you can open it, you can download it, you can make a copy of it. That's a really good option if you don't want to mess with the original. or you can go here and click organize. And then you can see you can add a shortcut, add to start, or add to that workspace that we talked about. So I highly recommend adding a shortcut to your drive so that you know that you put it in your folder named, June 2025 in a subfolder called, listings this week or open houses or whatnot. If it's shared with you, it's not automatically going to go in your drive. You'll be able to find it either by searching for it or clicking on that shared with me option. But adding that shortcut to your hierarchy of file folders makes it much, much easier for you to go back because you know how you organize your files. That way you can get back to that shortcut link. Now, if you don't make a copy of it and the original owner of that does decide to change it, delete it, archive it, whatnot, your shortcut will be broken. It's not your document. You didn't make a copy. It is the original creator's document. So even creating that shortcut, it will go away from your drive if you don't make a copy of it. So I forgot to open my chat. So I'm going to take a brief moment and see if we have any questions come in. Okay, none so far. I also highly recommend that we do naming parameters for our file hierarchy that makes sense. Sometimes organizing by the year makes sense. So you could do year, month, date. Sometimes it makes sense to organize things by people's names. So for example, if you have a file for every agent in your office and you have Carrie Scomp as one file, but you have Poplinski Jessica for a different file, you can see how it can be confusing. So keeping naming parameters very much the same can be very helpful. So if it's first, last, do first, last for everyone. If you're doing year, month, date, do year, month, date for everything. Just it keeps everything much more organized and much more simplistic to find when you need it. You can also see that you can manipulate your order by doing things like I put a star in front of my name. I wanted this file, which is where most of my files that I utilize every day is found. I put a star there. That way, alphabetically, it's always going to be at the top because you can filter how you view these. But the default for Google is alpha, A through Z, and special characters come first. You can also do that by putting numbers. So, for example, new agent packet, right? I was working with a lot of documents. They weren't going to be in alphabetical order. That's not how I needed it. I needed, a compensation first, and then maybe policy second, and then agent information third. But alphabetically, those wouldn't have lined up. So you can number them as well. You can do 1 comp plan, 2 policy, 3 agent. So it's going to go in that numeric order, and that can help keep your files and folders a lot more organized as well. But you can do certain things like those tricks by putting either a 1 or a special character in there. So when you're in your alpha view, it's going to show up first. But of course, I have this as starred. So if I go to my starred, it's going to be right there. You can also star individual documents. So not just the file can go in your starred folder or your starred view. You can also star certain individual files so that they show up here as well. The nice thing with this is because you can see where it comes from. So my Carrie file is in my drive. Maintenance requisitions and documents. This marketing receipts is shared with me. So you can quickly see, okay, I know I should be able to find that, original folder and where this came from. So this can be really helpful to show you where that location was found from. So using things like starred, using naming parameters, all of those things can help keep you very much organized. So let's talk about shared just a little bit. Again, you can go right from your view here. You can go either open. We talked about these. You can download a whole file. If you have a lot of content in there, it's going to take a really long time. You can always rename things from here. We talked about organizing and putting a shortcut otherwise, much like when we had our meeting about emails and having your tags color coded. You can color code your folders if you want to. Maybe you have a Michigan folder that's blue, maybe an Ohio folder that's red, and maybe a Florida folder that's orange. So you can do color coding as well here. So when you go into share, you'll have a couple options. You can copy the link and just, paste that into a Google Meet, paste it into an email, whatever it might be. But to get to more options and you click on the share, you'll see that you can share it with people, groups, or a calendar event even. So if you have a group for your agents and you want to send it to everybody at once, you can pull in your group. So you don't have to individually put in email addresses there. So it's a good option to share like that. You can have your general access here, so you can be restricted. That goes to only the people that you've physically shared it with using their email address. Nobody else can access it. You can make it open for the entire Schmidt family of companies. So anybody logged into their Google Workspace that's provided by Schmidt family of companies, Schmidt HQ, CB Great Lakes, CB Schmidt Ohio, CB Sunstar, any of those accounts would be able to access that file or that document, depending on what you're sharing. Or simply anyone with the link. So maybe it's a document that you're sharing across to co-broke. Maybe there's a broker open house and you want the other people across the street selling to be able to see it. Anyone with the link would be able to open it at that option as well. So depending on how sensitive your information is that you're sharing, you have those options there. You always have the ability to go back into your share options and delete people if you don't want to share it with them anymore, or change their status if you had them an editor or a viewer or whatnot. You can always go ahead and change that. So right in a document, in the upper right is share. And you'll be able to see who it's shared with, and you'll be able to see what the shared access is, and you'll be able to see whether they're an editor or a viewer. And right from this list as well, you can change that option. And then once you're done, once you make all of these changes, you do have to click done or they won't take. But it does give you a warning if you try to click out without making those changes. So it's good to give you that warning to make sure that what you intended to share actually is occurring. So let me just review my notes real quick to make sure I haven't missed anything. So we did talk about the search functionality. Make your lives easier and just search for it. If you know what the name is, or if you know part of what the name is, or if you know who shared it with you, it can make your life a lot easier to be able to find the document by using the search functionality. And also keep in mind, if you want to sync seamlessly from your Google Drive, which is cloud-based, to your computer, you do need to download the file stream option from Google. If you Google the Google file stream, it gives you options for PC or Mac. And again, if you need help with that, if you need the administrative password, reach out to Paul Kelly, Jessica, or myself, and we can help get that done. Keep in mind also the difference between My Drive and shared drives. My Drive will go away if your Google account goes away. Anything in shared drives will stay in perpetuity of our Schmidt Google Workspace account. So it can be a lot better way to make sure that we maintain any of the data that we need to maintain. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for a moment and see if we had any questions come in. Great. Well, if you are in Google Drive and you're like, I remember seeing that, but I don't know how to get there, don't hesitate to reach out with questions. I appreciate your time this morning, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye now.